What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Real Talk Ravens Podcast Thanksgiving
Sure.
edition. Happy Turkey Day. Happy Turkey Week. Lots of football.
Happy Sweep Week. Congratulations,
Yes,
Baltimore.
congrats. We swept the Bengals Thursday night. It was a bittersweet win because of the all-knowing Mark Andrews going down for the year, unless somehow he makes it back for the playoffs, deep in the playoffs at some point. We'll talk about that. But anyways, this week we do play the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, so we have back-to-back primetime games. We're going to be nice and full from our Thanksgiving turkey. Don't let that tryptophan hit you on Sunday night. We don't need to be taking naps during the game, all right? We need to be up, ready to go. It is an 8:20 Eastern kickoff, Sunday Night Football, right before the bye week. Chargers are 4-6. We're 8-3. Chargers are coming off yet another blown lead at the end. Talk about blowing leads. They are worse than we are.
Yeah, they really are. They might be the one team outside of the Atlanta Falcons that are just cannot hold a lead. So I guess it's going to be a battle of who wants it more, which is funny because it seems like we never want it at the end, and neither do the Chargers. I was actually watching that game on Sunday, switching between the Browns-Steelers game and then the Chargers-Packers game, and it does not look pretty. It does not look pretty.
No, and a big loss for them, just like we lost Mark Andrews. They lose Joey Bosa, what seems to be like a season-ending injury.
Again, and it's so unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate. Wish it was just like a short term, where he just misses our game, but it sounds like he's going to be out for the year. They haven't come out and officially said that yet. We are filming this now on Monday, just after the Sunday games. A little bit different schedule here with Thanksgiving and families visiting and all that good stuff. So,
yeah.
But the early spread on the game, Baltimore's favored by 4 points. The over-under is 46.5. We're playing in Los Angeles, so we're going to the West Coast. But we had an extra long week of rest and recovery, so we should be ready to go. The weather right now in LA, game time is about 64 degrees, so it's going to be nice and, cool.
I would even argue that we might have more fans out there. That's just like a Chargers thing. I don't know how many Southern California Ravens fans are out there, but knowing that Lamar Jackson is our quarterback, there's a good chance there's quite a few. We'll see. This is I feel weird about this game.
I'm with you.
It's just like almost like a Twilight Zone game,
Yeah, so the Chargers, before the season, everyone was expecting them to take that next step and be a playoff caliber team.
Well, they signed Justin Herbert long term, didn't they?
Yeah, they signed Herbert right after I think Lamar got his extension. And they have a lot of really good pieces on offense. Then you tie in the fact that they have Bosa on defense, obviously not now, but you had him, you had Derwin James. You have some key playmakers on both sides of the ball, but yet they're still not able to just put it all together and play together.
They are one of the most underperforming rosters ever because on paper they should be in a Super Bowl or at least competing for one. And if you just look at who they have on paper, in reality, as most Chargers fans will say, it doesn't really matter who you have on your team if they're the Chargers, little Charger. But at the same time, very, very rarely have the Ravens had it easy against the Chargers. I think the last time we played them was like the one exception where I remember we just absolutely dominated over them. It's normally a tight game, and I don't expect anything less of it because they're now playing for their season. And after big wins, we tend to relax a little bit.
Yeah, and not only are they playing for their season, they're playing for their head coach's job. Brandon Staley is on the hot seat as much as anybody is in the NFL.
He was snapping at the journalists yesterday.
Yeah, he snaps at the journalists after every loss like he doesn't expect to be questioned on his decisions because he's a head coach. What do you expect? That's your job. You have to answer the questions of the media, even when you don't win games. It's okay. You got to answer questions. Be a big boy and don't freaking have a meltdown every time that happens.
I heard yesterday, apparently they keep asking him like if they're going to change something defensively as far as play calling goes or scheme wise. And he apparently snapped at them. He was like, "Stop asking that question. I am going to be calling defense."
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
Right.
Yeah, like if you don't want them to ask that question, how about your defense play better? They are one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
They're 32nd in yards, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they might be dead last. I didn't look at the stats, but Brandon Staley is supposed to be this defensive mind, but I still question how he got the head coaching job there. He was a defensive coordinator for one season for the Rams when they were the number one defense in the NFL, when they were just completely loaded and stacked, like personnel wise. He literally, Rex Ryan said it today on ESPN on, I think, what is it? Get up, whatever show he's on. And he was like, my freaking wife could have called that defense. That's how stacked they were. Like, this dude went from being a Division III defensive coordinator to being the defensive coordinator for the Rams to being the head coach of the Chargers within a span of 5 years.
But doesn't that beg the question, if he could be so dominant with such a highly talented defense, why can't he be dominant now?
Because he's a head coach now. He has other things to worry about. He can't just focus on the defense. And they're not as dominant as the Rams were.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, as far as like names, I mean, they've got Khalil Mack, they've got Derwin James, they've got had Joey Bosa. I'm trying to remember who their other big star on defense was. I think they had like a cornerback. No, they traded J.C. Jackson, but then they have someone else in corner too.
Let's take a look at their depth chart right now. All right, defensive depth chart. They have Khalil Mack on one edge. They have had Joey Bosa on the other edge. Linebacker, they have Eric Kendricks, solid. Kenneth Murray Jr., I'm pretty sure he's decent.
You know, I remember I was wanting him in the draft, and we got Patrick Queen instead.
Mm-hmm. They've got Asante Samuel Jr. at corner.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty solid, young dude. Michael Davis is their other corner. I'm not too sure on him. But then you have Derwin James at safety. Alo Gilman at safety. I don't know him. And then I think your nickel is Jasir Taylor. Don't know him. So compare that to the 2020 Rams. You had Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Von Miller.
Yeah. I thought there were more names on that defense. That's I thought, for some reason, I thought Kareem Jackson was on the
they were ridiculous that year.
Yeah, and the Rams were unstoppable.
They had Taylor Rapp still when he was in his prime. Yeah, Leonard Floyd. You had Brockers when he was doing good. Okoronkwo at linebacker. Ebukam, he was really good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't know how you get a head coaching job based off of one season as the defensive coordinator for the NFL. He had no real other NFL experience besides that.
No.
And now he's going to be fired. It's just a matter of time.
He was on McVay's coaching tree. That's why. But they've been talking about a change in LA for like 2 years. Like
will we be the ones to just freaking shut the door on them and just have them fire their head coach?
See, here's why I think we'll probably not. If they lose to the Ravens, and I say if because they will be playing for their coach, and maybe they don't want to play for their coach, maybe they want him out too, maybe he's kind of losing the locker room, but they're all professionals, so I think they're going to give it their best shot. You're losing to at that point 9-3 team,
But it's going to be how they lose. If they lose by letting a lead slip away like they have been.
Yeah. Well, what's worse though? Is it leading the Ravens at the end and then losing 24-20, or is it losing like 56-13 like we've been doing to some of?
I think they're equally as bad.
I think if I'm a Ravens fan, which I am obviously, I want to see a shootout. Not necessarily like in the sense of like they're both scoring 40 points, but maybe like a 28-24 where our defense is challenged a little bit, and Lamar Jackson does have to go out there and make a few plays without Mark Andrews. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I am worried that when we play a tough team like this in the playoffs, it could come to bite us in the butt, especially without Mark now.
So if you look at it quarterback-wise, definitely one of the better quarterbacks we've played. I think that their offense is going to be able to score points on us, considering how I
Even
just feel like our defense just looks very tired. I'm hoping this kind of extra rest period from the Thursday night game really helps us to just get fresh legs back. But there is a chance that we do get Marlon Humphrey back. They said today in Harbaugh's presser that he's questionable. He said he has a good chance to play.
Good.
So we would be getting him back. I don't think anybody else was seriously hurt on the defense.
On defense. Okay.
But just we're going to film a separate injury segment tomorrow on Tuesday when the official injury report gets out. But just obviously the main ones that we already know about, Mark Andrews, we know he's done for the year. Harbaugh did come out and say there's an outside chance that he could make it back by the end of the year, probably deeper in the playoffs.
I was texting Tyler and Palmer. I was like, even when it happened after the game, I said that I feel like he'll be back if we make a run. And like, if we're legitimately competing for a Super Bowl and we're like in the AFC Championship game, I think Mark Andrews will try and play. If we like go and we find a way to lose the division and we I don't think he comes back for that unless somehow we make a run still. But it's very dependent on how far we go. It's also, a cracked fibula is no joke. If I cracked my fibula, I would be out of commission probably until May.
He did say it was a clean break, so that was the reason they have a little bit of optimism because it was a cleaner break than they anticipated.
Okay. What did they say about the ligament damage?
They said that he was going to meet with a doctor in Charlotte about that, and they haven't really come out with much more on that. But I would say with Mark Andrews' injury, we should expect to see Travis Vokalek elevated from the practice squad to the active roster. If you remember, he's the rookie undrafted tight end from Nebraska, I believe, that he had a really good preseason. Really, really good preseason. I think he had 2 touchdowns in the preseason.
And I think he was kind of like Isaiah Likely in the preseason last year. He was just kind of a very consistent receiving tight end.
I do actually think that Vokalek is going to be more of like your hybrid tight end that is actually a decent blocker in line. Just, he's a Big Ten tight end. That he's got that big body. So I could expect if we do activate him to be in for more blocking things and giving us the ability to put Likely and Kohler out into the passing concepts and keeping him in the block. They also did host a free agent tight end today on a workout. Scotty Washington. He's a vet that played for the Patriots and the Steelers.
That sounds like a made-up person.
Scotty Washington, yeah.
Sounds like.
But we did just remember cut Eric Tomlinson off of our practice squad like a week ago. So I wouldn't, I could definitely see us signing him back to the practice squad at the very least.
Yeah. I have two notes. I know that obviously Isaiah Likely personally. I think Charlie Collier has proven to be the better receiving tight end when he's out there. I just don't think he's the more athletic of the 2 tight ends. And that's kind of why Isaiah Likely is put in this situation more. I think Isaiah Likely is a very good blocker, as he proved against the Bengals. He's very valuable in that set, but I don't think it's going to fall directly on Likely or directly on Collier. I think it's going to kind of be split more evenly. I also think you might find 42 getting more receptions. He's done it a couple times. Pat Ricard kind of schemes some stuff in there with him. He's basically a tight end. And anything else you want to call him?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I think. I don't think Pat Ricard should be a big piece of our pass game. I think he's perfect with what he does. I'll give him a flat route every couple of games just to keep the defense honest. But besides that, I don't really want him going out for passes.
I don't think it's going to be like a tremendous thing. I think it might be more of like a goal line thing. Like we fake it to Gus and then find him on a little clip or something,
Throw it to Ronnie Stanley. I don't care who it is at that point. The other practice squad signings around the division that's worth noting is the Browns signed quarterback Joe Flacco to their practice squad with the injury to Deshaun Watson. Yeah, December Joe, January Joe, whatever you want to call him. Wouldn't it be something if freaking he ends up starting for the Browns and takes them to the playoffs?
Dude, if we play the Browns in the playoffs and Joe Flacco is the quarterback, I'm penciling that in as a loss because he will beat us. He will be
It-
determined, and he will. It's January Joe. Like if we could, he beat the Peyton Manning Denver Broncos and then the Tom Brady New England Patriots back-to-back weeks on the road, and then overcame a rigged Super Bowl.
And I was listening to the Vault earlier, and they made a really good point with the fact that Flacco is built for a team like the Browns. He was basically on that same team with the Ravens, a super strong defense where all he was asked to do was score like 3 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
Same team.
I
He is
think
38 years old now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the age might put him at a slight disadvantage. Um, Also, he's not as mobile as DTR. DTR was able to kind of get out of a couple of things yesterday. I think that if he does play a very tough defense that can penetrate that O line, it might cause problems because
Yeah, that was his issues toward the end with us. He couldn't
yeah.
escape the pocket like he did when he was younger. He always tended to step right into pressure instead of trying to get away from it.
Now I will
Um,
say
he
him
is
and David,
huge, so he's able to kind of just throw the ball with guys in his face. That has always been his thing. But
and he's always been really, really reliable with the tight end. If you guys remember, Owen Daniels, Dennis Pitta. Didn't we have Cook one year?
Cook,
Or what was his name? I forget his name. He played with us 1 year.
yeah, I know you. It was not Cook. He played for the Saints for a while.
Yeah, and he was pretty good for us too. He always finds a way to kind of like Lamar,
Benjamin Watson.
Benjamin Watson. Yeah, Benjamin Watson. He was also on the Patriots too. He won a Super Bowl with the
Yep.
Patriots after we let him go. David Njoku's no joke. They're going to have some good chemistry. Now, is Joe Flacco just automatically the starter, or are they going to keep DTR?
No. Yeah, right now he's just on the practice squad, so he's obviously still got to learn the entire playbook and all that stuff. So I don't think it would be something that you see for at least a few weeks. But if you see DTR start to be the reason why that they're not winning games, or maybe they're not scoring a lot of points because they didn't score much versus the Steelers. They kind of squeaked that one away with their defense. But versus some teams that have better offenses that are able to put up points against the Browns,
Now,
if DTR isn't able to do that, then I can definitely see them putting him in.
I will remind you, Joe Flacco was in a very similar situation last year with the Jets, and he wasn't really able to do much.
That Jets offensive line is awful.
That's the key difference. But they are a banged up O-line now, so I think they're playing very well. Good for them, kind of like we have in the past where we've just kind of had to patchwork people in, and they've still played really well. I just hope for Joe's sake that it can hold up. And I'll tell you what, if we find a way or find ourselves playing the Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco at quarterback, I love you, Joe, but not today.
You know what? I was if the Jets end up releasing Zach Wilson, I would love to have him as a backup quarterback. Just saying.
What, for the underdogs?
No, for the Baltimore Ravens.
For
Dude,
those who don't know who the
he
underdogs
has all of the talent in the world. He was just put in the worst possible scenario. I honestly think if Aaron Rodgers was starting, he would have had his worst year of his career. Nathaniel Hackett is awful. Their offensive line is awful. Whoever that quarterback is, I'm sorry, that they're just going to get killed.
Well, I'm sure Lamar is glad he didn't end up signing there. Seriously. I just think that whole coaching staff kind of sucks. I think Robert Saleh was way better as just a defensive coordinator.
I just think that he's got his hands tied with the offense because Rodgers wants Hackett there to be his offense coordinator, and Saleh's going to do whatever Rodgers wants, even though it's not what's best for the team right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers also thinks he's going to be playing in 5 weeks, so 4 weeks.
At that point, they're going to be 5-11. So,
right.
But let's get going to looking at our offense. We're going to go ahead like last week. We're going to start with the previous game. So we'll start with the Bengals game. Offensively, I think the story of the game was the fact that our wide receivers really stepped up when Mark Andrews went down.
Yes. Definitely so. Odell Beckham had a 100-yard game for the first time this year. Zay Flowers had a touchdown. Nelson Aguilar had a pretty amazing touchdown after that. Gus Edwards is our version of the tush push. We've said it before. If you give it to Mark Andrews on the goal line, it doesn't matter if it takes 2 or 3 tries, he's going to get in. Usually it doesn't take 2 or 3 tries. Lamar Jackson needs to, I think another big takeaway for me was Lamar Jackson needs to learn how to throw the ball away. And it seemed like he did later in the game kind of start throwing the ball away more. Our deep accuracy isn't quite there yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there.
What I did like about that is the fact that even though he didn't connect on like his first couple deep balls, he kept going back to it because it's kind of like basketball, right? You got to shoot your shot until you make it. Shooters got to shoot, and then once it starts falling in, you get into a rhythm. And with Lamar, he just needed to get into that rhythm.
Right.
So he hit OBJ on that really deep one. That was beautiful. He also hit, I forget who it was. I think it might have been Odell on another one, but the DB stuck his hand in and made a really good play on it. But it was a really good pass.
That was going to be Bateman. And
yeah,
Bateman
okay,
would have
Bateman.
caught that too. Bateman would have caught that too.
Yeah, that would have been another big play. But that was, like, to me, a really good sign for Lamar because of the fact that it was on the money. The defensive player just made an amazing play sticking his hand in there and getting the ball out. But I think, 9 out of 10 times that's a completion.
You know what I think my favorite thing about this offense that I saw on Thursday night was the defense of the Bengals attacked our weakness early. They were blitzing the hell out of us, sending everyone. We couldn't run the ball. And it was a series, I think we had like 3 3-and-outs in a row, and the Bengals had finally found their way back into the game. They took the lead, and it was very clear to us that it could take a terrible turn. You'll never know now because Joe Burrow got hurt. But we adjusted so well. We continued to run the ball, and we found our rhythm. We adjusted our blocking schemes, gave Lamar more time in the pocket. When we realized that we had a player who was out to hurt our own, we kind of figured out how to neutralize him. And even though Mark Andrews went down, it didn't stop us. Although we didn't really have the production from the tight ends that I would have wanted. Isaiah Likely still proved himself valuable. He made really good blocks. I think Charlie Collier had 1 or 2 catches, didn't he? Collier?
I know he had 1.
Yeah. So overall, just like really good at adjusting to what we were being given. I feel like that's always kind of been a qualm of mine with the Ravens is we don't always adjust very well. But we did. We adjusted really well offensively and defensively, but we're talking about the offense now. We continued to run the ball until they couldn't stop us, and then we kind of just blew up. Even Lamar hobbling out there on one leg tried to run the ball a couple times, which, he probably
This
shouldn't.
is the second time now, I think, that he's come up hobbling with an ankle injury, and it scares me to death, especially this one because he lays on the ground for so long, and then he went into the blue tent, and I was like, all right, there goes our season.
Yeah.
We're done. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks like he always is at the end of the season.
Right.
And
I saw Tyler Huntley warming up on the sideline, and my heart was just sinking. My heart was sinking.
Yeah, so I just
and
that was another thing we haven't really talked about was the way that Mark Andrews got hurt, the way that Lamar Jackson got hobbled was because of this guy, Luke Wilson, and his hip drop tackle. All right, so this hip drop tackle is basically what the defender is trying to do. He's chasing the guy from behind, and because he, he's trying to catch him from behind and he's trying to pull him back away from gaining positive yards, he just drops his hip on top of the ball carrier's legs so that they can't run their legs anymore and they just fall down. But when you do that, you're twisting up their ankles, you're twisting up their legs. Not only did it happen to those 2 guys for us, I saw this week in college football, Jordan Travis, the starting quarterback for Florida State, breaks his leg from a hip drop, and it was gruesome. It was disgusting. It was one that you do not want to see happen.
Imagine it like this. Basically, someone's trying to run you over from behind.
Yeah.
And they start with your legs. Like if someone's like I can imagine it by being like hit by a car and it going over you a little bit, because your legs get caught under you, you fall, and you have no control over your legs. You have to pray to God that like they don't do what Logan Wilson tried to do, which was pull Lamar's legs after the fact. It was there on the replay. You can see it. And the little P word decided not to say anything after the game. I hope he gets fined. I know the tackle was legal. I don't care. It was dirty. He's a dirty player. I don't care what anyone has to say. Oh, it's legal. You're overreacting. You're being dumb. Let them play. It's a play that has consistently proven to hurt players in their seasons. And this man either A, is not talented enough to know how to tackle in a way that doesn't hurt people, or he's trying to take out the best players. Because let's be honest, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, we're not winning if we don't have those guys on the field, both of them, or, a combination of those two guys on the field. And then another thing that kind of irked me is the Bengals, or whatever his name is, that really crappy linebacker on the Bengals,
Pratt.
the nerve to say that we were happy that Joe Burrow got hurt, and that the only reason Lamar Jackson played well was Joe Burrow got hurt, and that Patrick Queen was happy that Joe Burrow got hurt. When you literally have a player who's trying to hurt our players, because they're not good enough to beat us at full strength.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go as far as to say that he's a dirty player, Wilson. I think that he was probably taught in practice by maybe all the way back from college. This is how we want you to tackle. We don't want you guys to tackle up high. We want you guys to wrap their legs and roll the rugby way. And because that's something that was a big thing in just teaching people how to tackle differently without tackling higher, and basically just trying to get out of helmet-to-helmet contact.
Tell the audience what you told me about the hip drop tackle in rugby, though.
Yes, so recently the hip drop tackle in rugby has been removed from the game. So they've already done that in rugby, which means,
and they're not playing with pads.
The thing about it is the NFL always seems to be one step behind rugby when it comes to these types of things. So I'm 99% sure the hip drop tackle is going to be banned after this season, especially when it happens in prime time in front of everyone's eyes with a prominent player like Mark Andrews.
And here's the thing about the Bengals. I can't speak on the organization because I don't know, but they just had a very weird week. First, their player hurts 3 of our players and then won't speak about it after the game. Probably won't get fined because the NFL would rather fine players for throwing up peace signs than hurting players intentionally. Number 2, they lied about Joe Burrow's injury, which is highly irresponsible. They ruined their whole season. You know what? I don't cherish him going down, but you kind of get what you're asking for when you're playing on a short week and your quarterback is clearly dealing with an injury. And I don't believe that BS that people are saying it's an iPad hand thing or something. I don't know. I heard it was like a brace for an iPad. And then Joe Burrow was saying, oh, everyone wears braces on the plane. Yeah, well, you weren't on the injury report. And then what happened in the second quarter? You hurt the same hand that was in a brace.
It's coincidental.
Right. And if you look back to the week before in the Texans game, maybe you were telling me this, maybe it was someone else, but there was a play where he looked like he kind of landed on his hand later on in the game. You're playing with fire when you undisclose injuries like that, especially when it's with your most important player. And I find it unfortunate because as much as I dislike him as a player and as a person, Joe Burrow is a really, really, really insanely talented player, and he is the entire reason that team is competitive year after year. Jake Browning will not get that team to the playoffs. It's over, And I
don't even know if they'd make the playoffs with Burrow right now.
Right, and the thing is, like, the Bengals organization owe their fan base an explanation. Joe Burrow owes an explanation. And honestly, if I were Joe Burrow, I mean, he probably chose to play through it. But I would be upset with the coaching and, like, the medical staff, too, because he was not on the injury report. They put people on the injury report for illness.
So the other thing that I think is going to really cost them is the fact that the reason you have that injury report is because of the whole betting.
Mm-hmm.
And Do you know how many people bet thousands and thousands of dollars on that game
The
and
leader of
had
our
no idea that the quarterback was injured for one of the teams? I mean,
What is the guy who owns Barstool Sports? He's suing the Bengals.
Portnoy.
Yeah, he's suing the Bengals for $100,000 because he put $100,000 bet on the Bengals.
He should.
And, I hope he sues them and gets more than $100,000. I hope they have to cut all their players next year because they have to pay out so much money to angry bettors.
Yeah, I would sue the NFL because at the end of the day, they are responsible, and then the NFL can do what they want and fine the Bengals. Either way, I think they should get fined monetarily, and I think they should lose a draft pick because of it.
Well, here's the thing. If you sue the Bengals, like you're saying, the NFL might not do much about it. But if you sue the NFL, their ass is responsible, so they're going to make the Bengals responsible. They're going to shift the blame on the Bengals, and they're going to come down even harder on the Bengals. And it's a crappy organization run by a stingy family that doesn't know how to run a football team. That got lucky that they got Joe Burrow to fall in their lap, and they're clearly mismanaging him. They have consistent players that try to hurt people, like Vontaze Burfict, like Logan Wilson, and they're the one team that if like a black hole opened up and just sucked their stadium out of the earth, I don't think they'd be missed by anyone but their own fans.
Yeah.
Maybe the Cowboys, but you know what I'm saying? It's like I think when you're a professional sports team, there's a certain level of integrity you have to have. And you have to, at a certain point, like, yes, it's a business, but you have to remember, like, when you're not disclosing injuries, you're only shooting yourself in the foot. And you're injuring a player who, at the end of the day, I mean, players are dispensable. And that's just proving how players are dispensable. When you don't disclose injuries and you just, okay, well, you're hurt now, next man up,
Yes.
If I was Joey B, I would be very, very upset. Probably at myself, but also at the Bengals for letting me play.
Yeah, but just going back to the game, I would say it seemed like the defense just completely gave up after he got hurt. And then it was like all the floodgates just opened for our offense after that.
Yeah.
We were able to score, I think, on our last two possessions before the half. And that really just kind of set the tone for the rest of the game that we were going to take it over.
Yeah, wasn't it it was 20-13?
They were winning 10-7, and then we scored, I think, two straight touchdowns, and it was 21-10 at halftime, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, they had 13 because they had two field goals and they missed one, and then they had the touchdown. So it was I think we were up 17-13 or 21-13 at halftime.
Yeah, so either way,
the
end of the first half, we pretty much took that game over and let the guys just kind of relax after that. But it was really good to see the receivers stepping up, like we said, Lamar being able to try to finally connect on some deep balls, Odell getting hot at the right time. They said his shoulder injury isn't going to be anything serious. It's just a little minor thing that he's been dealing with all year.
Another Logan Wilson caused thing.
That one was not a hip drop, though.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, but it was.
That was a clean tackle.
That was a clean tackle. I just,
And then Gus Bus just dominating. I like to see us score more touchdowns outside of the 10-yard line, but anytime we're inside the 10-yard line, it's almost a guarantee Gus Bus touchdown.
Well, again, Zay Flowers had a really good touchdown where he carried it, 60 yards, 50 yards, something like that.
It was like 65.
And there was a very, very the roughing was inconsistent on both sides. They gave us a couple of phantom calls. They gave them a couple of phantom calls. I feel like once they saw that they had messed up that call, they kind of gave us a couple rather than just calling the game the right way. We definitely had a phantom PI called against the Bengals. At least one. I think there were actually probably two. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else blatant called against us. I think actually they called a little more in our favor, but still, just in general, bad reffing.
Well, you don't count for the fact that our caused a lot of penalties on the Bengals. They were being so loud. They caused Burrow to call 2 timeouts in the first half, the 2 false starts. I think they had a delay of game. our fans were going crazy.
Yes, they were.
But getting back to the offense, one player that I did want to talk about that I thought, he's being hyped up quite a bit, and that is Keaton Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
So Keaton Mitchell, he didn't really have a super productive day, and I think it kind of confirmed what I was thinking prior to the fact that he he's not 100% with this playbook yet. I think that there's still some timing things, some protection things that are going to getting as much carries. I do think he's for sure better than Justice Hill. Justice Hill, however, is going to know this playbook inside and out because he's been here for the whole year playing and has been relied on, especially in pass coverage or pass protection and all that. So with that being said, I think we're going to continue to get Keaton Mitchell involved. And I think it's just going to be a journey for him throughout the rest of this season, just building week by week on trying to just get his IQ up within the offense. But I think by the time the end of the season rolls around, he's going to be rolling on all cylinders.
Yeah, I can see it more now too, and almost just he's not quite there yet.
I think it's mostly mental. I don't think it's really the play of like his ability.
I mean, to be fair, when you go from playing at ECU and you don't get drafted to playing Thursday night football at the main blackout against the Cincinnati Bengals, who were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, like it's a different thing.
Chris Johnson did it. CJ2K is from ECU.
Yeah, and you know what? Wasn't Keaton Mitchell's dad on the Ravens at one point, or was he just in the NFL?
He was on the Super Bowl winning team in 2000.
That's right. So, he'll get there.
He was also undrafted.
Yeah.
So let's get looking at the upcoming game against the Chargers.
Did we want to talk defense real fast in the Bengals game, or did you?
We'll go offense,
defense,
and then defense.
Okay.
Yeah. So offense going into the Chargers game. I'm very intrigued on how we're going to get this tight end game going now with Mark Andrews being out. You spoke on it earlier, but I think my opinion is that Likely is going to get the bulk of the targets. And really, I think it's going to be a matter of how much in sync can he get with Lamar, because the difference between Lamar and Mark Andrews, between Lamar and the rest of his receivers and tight ends, is the fact that they were on just telepathic levels where they knew where each other were going to be.
Tyler, you need to give Isaiah Likely a call and get in that room and get yourself a job in the Ravens coaching room and get them in sync.
But I don't know. It's just like Mark and Lamar just knew Lamar knew where Mark Andrews was going to go. And
that's like
Isaiah just hasn't. I don't know if Isaiah's been handed those keys. Like Mark Andrews kind of was given the keys to kind of have freedom to do what he wanted.
Right.
I don't know if Isaiah Likely's getting that same opportunity from the offensive coaches.
It's kind of like, imagine if Travis Kelce got injured for the rest of the year. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, just as Lamar is still Lamar, but his bread and butter would be gone. It would be a struggle. Actually, though, I do feel like if the Chiefs lost Kelce, it'd be more detrimental this year than us losing Mark Andrews. Just because.
Yeah. Well, we have better talent around Lamar than just Mark Andrews. We have good receivers. So obviously, I think that we are going to definitely have more targets to the receivers rather than Mark or tight ends. I think Nelson Aguilar being in that slot position is going to probably be relied on a little bit more than he has been recently, which showed in the game. He had a touchdown. Obviously, it was a tip pass and kind of lucky, but
yeah,
I think he will step up in that role.
I'm just glad we're playing the Chargers this week. We can kind of maybe, if they're as bad of a defense as they seem to be, maybe we can get away with a couple of things and kind of really find our bearings,
Yeah, I think, like we said, the Chargers defense is one of the league's worst, if not the worst. And we've had a little bit of extra time to prepare for them with the Thursday game. So I think the coaching game plan should be pretty good.
I will say it's very evident that we always come out there with a really good first and second drive script. We march down the field and we score. I'm interested to see what happens once the adjustments start to get made and we have to actually kind of think about what we're doing,
Yeah, so I mean, we said this earlier that the Chargers have talent, and it's not like they're just this god awful defense without any players. It's mainly
Right.
their coaching that's screwed them over. It's
And
not.
let's remember, we struggled against the Cardinals defense. So
Yeah, and we're I know we've got the extra rest, but we are still going to the West Coast, so there's got to be something for that to be said. Um, but yeah, my main question mark will be, how do we implement these tight ends? I personally think, like I said, that likely is going to get the bulk. Charlie Kohler might get one or two every now and then, kind of like he did um, last week. But I think likely is probably going to get at least 4 to 5 targets per game
my
going
question
forward.
with Isaiah Likely, he seems to drop the ball a lot when he gets targeted. At least recently, or in the last game, I think he had 2 targets and 2 drops.
He didn't have any drops against the Bengals.
Did he not? It looked like he was like. I'll have to go back and look at the tape. We haven't.
They threw him one pass. It was one target on the sideline, and he was turning into block for Lamar because he thought he was running, and
Oh,
then Lamar threw it outside. Yeah,
well, I hope that.
that's what I'm talking about. Them being on the same page.
Yeah, I think once he gets his bearings, like he's proven before that he can have big games.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all about his hands. He's got ridiculous hands. He just I will say, I mean, he's has just as many drops as anybody. Mark
Right.
Andrews has
I mean,
drops.
Mark Andrews drops it sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not concerned about that really. It's more so, you know, him being on the same page as Lamar. That's my thing. And I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think we'll be able to run the ball on them.
I think that Gus will have a huge game.
I can see, Keaton Mitchell taking that next step. I don't know. We've just got so many weapons on offense now. It's going to come down to how does Monken call the game now that Mark Andrews isn't in, and what type of personnels are we going to be in? Are we going to be in more 10 personnel with no tight ends on the field? Or are we going to be still same personnel wise, keeping Likely basically plugging him in for Andrews? So that would be the question.
I honestly think, just a guess, obviously, I don't know. I think we're going to try and keep it similar. I think we're going to keep the next man up mentality, which is kind of what we've done over the last 2 or 3 years. That's worked really well for us. And I only say that because since we have been doing it, I feel like we're at a place where we saw this early in the season. We had a lot of injuries on defense along the offensive line, and people were able to step up because they really knew the scheme. And we've done this so often over the last few years that we're ready for something like that. And I think rather than changing the way we attack a team, we'll just find ways to try and do the same thing with what we have, Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm not saying there won't be any adjustments. Isaiah Likely is not Mark Andrews, but it's, I don't think it changes too much. Maybe it's a little run heavier at first just to kind of see. But,
I think the bright side is the fact that you kind of have some time here. It's only week 12. We've got, 5 weeks, 6 weeks until the end of the season before the playoffs to get whatever our new identity is after Mark Andrews down. So I do think there will be a little bit of a growing process.
Yeah.
So that's to be expected. So the question is, how steep of a growing process will it be? Because Lamar did rely on Mark Andrews anytime there's a critical situation. That was his guy.
Right.
So who is it going to be a group effort at this point, or is he going to pick a new guy? Is it going to be Odell?
I've seen the chemistry between him and Odell growing, so I think it could very well become Odell, as his go-to guy as long as he's healthy. But I don't necessarily think that changes how we attack teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main thing will be just those key situations where Lamar just knows I'm trying to go to this guy, or is he going to say, depending on the play, I know by the defense lining up this way. I honestly think that this could be the next step in Lamar's maturing as a quarterback at this level. Is now he doesn't have to, or he's not able to rely on one person. Now he's got to spread the wealth. He's got to really dissect what the defense is doing and giving to him, and taking what they do give him. Because before, I think he was just, if it was 3rd and 5, I'm finding Mark Andrews at the sticks every time. Now it's going to be, all right, the defense is in man coverage. I can find, I like this matchup the best. So we'll do that. So I think that'll be a really interesting thing to see over the next couple of weeks. But you want to go ahead and get into defense?
Yes.
All right. So again, recapping the Bengals game. Our run defense struggled again for the 2nd straight week, and it really worries me.
They struggled early, but we found our rhythm. And I mean, Joe Mixon was kind of having his way early, and yeah, you can say Joe Burrow's injury took the life out of the offense. But
Well, you also got to realize they went down by a couple of scores, and they were forced to pass the ball.
It's true. That is true. They were gashing us early, but I'm not too worried about it. I think that it would be unwise to discredit it.
Let's just say this. The defense went from the number 2 run defense to the number 16 run defense in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think that our guys now, I honestly thought when I was watching the game that our defense just looked tired. Like they just did not get the same push that they did earlier on in the season. And that's to be expected with, the labors of the season coming on you and not having that earlier bye. But with this extra rested week from the Thursday night game, I do think that's going to give them a chance to really recover a lot better. And then you get the bye week next week to really push them into that last push in the end of the season here.
Austin Eckler can keep a team honest too, I laughed. Greg Rosenthal was talking about this. He said, yes, and it was true. When Austin Eckler got into open space yesterday, it kind of looked like he had a piano on his back a couple times. Maybe he's lost a step. Maybe he's playing through something. But that doesn't mean that he can't gash you still. And so I think we're going to make it a point of emphasis to really attack the run defensively this week, because if I know anyone in the Ravens locker room, I know that they're not accepting the fact that they've gone from 2 to 16. They think that's BS. They are ready to show the world that, no, we're still the Ravens. Try and run on us. I dare you. I think that's actually going to be to our benefit, because if we can kind of shut down the run and make the Chargers one-dimensional, even though they have one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league and one of the best wide receivers in the league, you're not going to throw for 500 yards on this Ravens defense. You're just not going to.
Yeah. One other thing to note from this past week was Marcus Williams. He looks completely different. He actually looks like he's got 2 arms out there running around, not just like he's freaking one-armed Willie out there.
PFF's highest graded Ravens defender on Thursday night.
Yes, but with that, Geno Stone took his highest snap cut. So he had the lowest amount of snaps that he's had since the Marcus Williams injury. I don't know how much I like that per se. It might have been just because of the game plan and what the Bengals were doing offensively. I know we did also put Broderick Washington as a healthy scratch because of what they did offensively. Right. His position wasn't as needed or necessary, so we just didn't even try and put him out there. We took someone else into the active roster.
We kept more corners, which, by the way, corners, we have been playing very, very good at that position.
By the way, Armour Davis, who everyone hates or loves to hate on, played extremely well in the 4th quarter.
Yeah. All of our guys played really well. I mean, Jamar Chase, what was he held to? 1 touchdown at the end in garbage
3
time.
3 catches for like 30 yards and a touchdown in garbage time.
Right. So, I don't know.
I'm very I think our pass defense is definitely our strength, not just because of our DBs, but our pass rush. Our pass rush got home again for another like 4 or 5 sacks.
Is there anyone of note on that Chargers offensive line?
That's a good question. Chargers offensive line is Rashawn Slater at left tackle, Zion Johnson at left guard, Will Clapp at center, Jamari Salyer at right guard, and Trey Pipkins III at right tackle.
Okay, so
I want to say Rashawn Slater is decent.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's kind of just like a middle of the pack O line. I don't think they're anything special, but I don't think they're like terrible.
One thing I will say for the Chargers is they love their tight ends. And one thing about our pass defense that we haven't been good against is tight ends. The Bengals didn't really have a tight end to really attack us with because that's just not their team. But I will say our pass coverage over the middle of the field was kind of the weakest part of our pass defense. We're good outside the numbers. We're good against the outside receivers, but those slot receivers and tight ends kind of give us some tough times.
Justin Herbert has been sacked 22 times this year, by the way.
Wow. Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because he's kind of a more mobile and athletic guy, so you wouldn't expect him to take that many, but that shows how bad – that tells you that their offensive line are letting in guys very quickly.
He was running a lot. I think he had 78 rushing yards against the Packers. A lot of them are from scrambles kind of up the middle.
We're going to have to keep an eye on him running. If you look back at us versus the Browns, Deshaun Watson's running ability was a big reason why they won that game. Yeah. I don't think if he is able to get out of a few of those tackles that they'd win that game. It was his running ability that kind of made that happen. And then Njoku was a big piece of their game plan. So I don't know. Gerald Everett was out this past week for them at tight end with an injury, so I don't know if he'll be back or not. Stone Smart scored a touchdown. He's actually their third string tight end, but he scored on a really deep touchdown versus the who did they play? The Packers?
Yeah.
No, they didn't play the Packers, did they?
This week, yeah, they played the Packers.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Well, anyways, they Stone Smart scored a touchdown. They have Parham Jr. also at tight end and Nick Vannett. So they've got 4 pretty solid tight ends. Their tight ends are definitely going to be a key emphasis for our defense, as well as keeping Justin Herbert in the pocket. They had a chance to win this game last week versus the Packers, but Quentin Johnston, the rookie receiver from TCU, thank God we didn't get him, dropped a potentially huge pass that would have kept them in the game and put them into field goal range for the tie, I think.
Yeah, even maybe they could have scored a touchdown. One thing I noticed about the Chargers offense this week was that Justin Herbert was getting very, very frustrated. There was a point where he spiked the ball down in anger. He's been rushing a lot. I feel like he doesn't trust coaching, and I feel like he feels like he has to take a lot of this into his own hands. And I don't know if that's going to make him play better or worse. I don't.
Yeah, I think that's
keep an eye on.
You never know what you're going to get with these guys. They can come out and play really, really good, or they can just stink the bed up. I think they're going to keep it competitive, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, let's not forget the Chargers do have a pretty potent offense. They put up 38 on the Lions.
Yeah, they're able to put up points. They've got the the coordinator from the Dallas Cowboys from last year,
right? I forget how many points they put up on the Jets, but that's a good defense too. So it's not like they can't score on good defenses.
They have talent. The biggest thing I would say their weakness is probably their O-line, since you just told me with their sack numbers. That's got to be their biggest weakness. And honestly, that's kind of one of our strengths is our front.
We're almost at 50 sacks this year.
Yeah, so Matabike is going to eat. Kyle Van Noy is going to eat. Clowney is going to eat. Tavius Robinson. How about shout out to him for getting his first sack of his career last week.
I know, dude. We got to talk about him on our bye week episode.
Dude, he is an exciting player.
I know.
I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. I said, this guy is popping on film, and I'm really glad to see it. He got some production last week. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on the defense. How about you?
Yeah, I think the key to us winning this game defensively is sacking Justin Herbert. I think we can put a lot of pressure in his face very fast. I'm interested to see what Keenan Allen, how he plays, because he has the potential of making any cornerback look silly. And if we don't have a full strength Marlon Humphrey, then it would be fuck.
Honestly, I would say Marlon Humphrey is probably best suited for a player like Keenan Allen if he's healthy, like you said. Just
Yeah,
because Keenan Allen's not a burner. He's not
right.
someone that's extremely
No, he's just big.
he runs really, really crisp routes. That's his thing.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what that matchup would look like. I'm excited to see what kind of blitzes we run. I can expect Kyle Hamilton to come around off the corner a few times. I
Yeah,
think,
you can always expect that.
but maybe even a little more. And Justin Herbert being one of the more cerebral quarterbacks in the league, I feel like we're going to have to disguise a lot of stuff and play kind of confusing ball. So I hope it doesn't end up confusing us more than we confuse him. But last time we played Justin Herbert, we blew out the Chargers. That was obviously in Baltimore in 2021. But I think just put pressure on his face and play well against Keenan Allen, and we should be fine. Obviously, like you said, the run game is a concern, but I'm not concerned about it. Now, if they gash us this week, then I will be very concerned. But I think it's going to change. I think we're going to make it a point of emphasis.
Honestly, to me, Eckler is more scary out of the backfield in the pass game than he is in the running game.
Yeah, like on a little screen or a dump off kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So definitely watch out for that. I wouldn't mind seeing Kyle Hamilton do some delayed blitzes, kind of just to prevent Herbert from escaping the pocket, and it kind of gives Hamilton more freedom to pick where he wants to blitz and kind of pick the soft spots in the O line.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into some predictions then.
Awesome.
All right. Offensively, I'm going to say that Isaiah Likely scores his first touchdown.
You stole mine.
And then I am also going to say that Justin Tucker hits a game-winning field goal.
Okay. So that I don't have the same one as you, I think that we have Keaton Mitchell's first. Oh, well, has he had 100 yards yet?
Yeah, his first game.
That was 100 yards? Okay. I think we have a multi-100-yard rushing game. I think Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell will rush for 100 yards. Because I think that's something we're going to really attack. I really do. So I think we're going to have over 200 yards rushing. And I think I'm not going to be that bold and say that Lamar will also have 100 yards. I think we'll maybe be a little more conservative with him this week. But I think Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell will both have 100 yards rushing.
All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and say that defensively, Odafe Owe gets himself a sack strip that we actually recover this time.
Okay. I think defensively, we turn the ball over 3 times. I think
we get 3 turnovers.
We cause 3 turnovers. I think we're going to cause 3 turnovers, whether they're fumbles that we actually fall on or they're interceptions. We have a stingy defense, and this is exactly the kind of team that loves to turn the ball over in the most inopportune times. And I think that matches up really well against a defense that likes to turn the ball over,
Yeah. Okay. Well, then with my score prediction, I'm going to say, since we had the Justin Tucker game winner, I'm going to say that we win the game 30-28.
I am going to say that the Chargers actually managed to beat us. I think they have too much to play for. I think that the Chargers are going to win this one 24-17.
Wow.
Despite running for over 200 yards and having 3 turnovers. I think we find a way to Raven it at the end. Maybe 24-20. Maybe we're up I don't know. It's just one of those games that I just don't feel too comfortable about. Now, I will say Lamar Jackson, primetime, shut me up, man. Keep your streak going. Shut me up. I feel like every time we win, especially a big game, we just find a way to, blow it or almost blow it. And against the Chargers with a potent an offense as they have, we really could blow it. Like if Justin Herbert has a minute and a half to go down the field and score a game-winning touchdown, I don't know if I have faith in any defense to stop him this year. I think that with the exception of last week, normally that won't happen, And we're not always the most clutch team late. So, yeah, maybe that happens, unfortunately.
All right. Well, hope you're wrong. Hope I'm right. Either
Yeah, me
way.
too.
Let's get into the week. What is this week?
Oh,
12 AFC North and primetime picks. Got a lot of picks on the slate this week with Thanksgiving, and we got a Friday football game.
Black Friday.
Yep. So, let's get into the last week's.
It was a bad one.
Not for you.
No?
No, sir.
I mean, I got the Broncos one right. I honestly.
You went 3-0 so far. Now we're doing this prior to Monday night. Again, I picked the Chiefs and Mike picked the Eagles. So we'll see how that goes. I kind of, for the Ravens' sake, hope that the Eagles win, because if they do, then we will take over the number 1 seed in the AFC, which would be nice. Yep. But either way, Mike's 3-0 this week. He took the Browns over Pittsburgh. He took Denver over Minnesota. He had Baltimore winning. So I did the opposite. I took Pittsburgh and Minnesota and Cincinnati.
Dude, I thought I was going to be wrong about, well, besides the Ravens one, definitely the Steelers one, and definitely the Broncos one last night, because for a while the Vikings were very much so outplaying the Broncos, and they kind of found their momentum late. And then the Steelers, like, dude.
We also picked the Steelers game before Deshaun Watson was designated out for season.
I was livid watching that Steelers game because, of course, they only find a way to be up 10 at halftime, and then immediately the Steelers come back and score, make it a 3-point game. Then the Browns just brown the whole half away, and it's 10-10, and it's like back and forth. And I was sitting there thinking, if this game goes to OT, the Steelers are winning.
Yep.
But hallelujah, God exists, and the Steelers finally lost a game they're supposed to lose, you know?
Yep.
So
let's go ahead and get into these Thanksgiving Turkey Day picks. We got first one up, Green Bay at Detroit.
Is that the early?
Yes, I believe so.
Awesome. That actually is a great game to wake up to.
Yep.
Detroit's been flirting with a loss lately, but I don't know if the Packers are good enough to win this one. Aaron Jones looks like he's going to be out for the year now. He was carted off, towel over his head, one of those really bad ones yesterday. And I think after an emotional win over the Chargers, they probably will just lose outright. If the Lions are for real, then one of the games they'll really want to win is at home on Thanksgiving in prime time. So I would predict probably like another blowout, 42-21.
Yeah, I'm going Detroit as well, at home on Thanksgiving. It is a short week with that being on a Thursday, so I still think there's a chance that it could be sloppier I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think Green Bay will probably keep it within 10, but I'm still going to take Detroit to win that. The Fighting Dan Campbells are going to win that one.
They're good, man. I
will say Detroit did not have their best week this past week. Jared Goff threw 2 or 3 interceptions that were really bad.
Yeah, 3 interceptions.
Bad interceptions. Not like they were just
5. He was getting booed at one point.
Yeah. Detroit is favored by 7.5 to win this. So I think that they do win, but I don't necessarily think they will cover.
Okay. I think they'll cover just because the Packers are one of those teams that they're like the Falcons. They'll win every once in a while, but they're not a serious team. You know what I mean?
Yep. So the next one on the slate is Washington at Dallas, an NFC, was that East matchup?
Yeah, East matchup. This is like perfectly laid out for the Washington Commanders to win this game. They just got swept by the Giants for like the 3rd straight year. They just it's bad. Like I don't remember the last time they beat the Giants, but it doesn't look like Ron Rivera is going to have his job next year. Cowboys are going to be heavy favorites at home. I don't know. Maybe like Sam Howell has a little bit of magic in his fingers and can recover from a 3 interception week. Cowboys tend to choke in big spots, especially against teams they have no business choking against. I'm going to pick Washington. I think Washington's going to find a way to stun everyone. I could be dead wrong. The Cowboys could win by 70, but my gut says Washington.
All right. Dallas is favored by 11 points. That's a big spread.
Mm.
I'm going to go with Dallas. But like you said, I think Washington will hang around.
Here's the thing. Washington's 0-4 in the division right now. They've been swept by 2 other teams.
Yeah. And I think the thing about this is I don't necessarily think Washington has a great offensive line.
No.
And you got Micah Parsons. I think that that pass rush for Dallas is going to get home a few times and cause a few turnovers. Sam Howell's going to put up big yardage and probably a good amount of touchdowns, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Sam Howell is the reincarnation of Matt Ryan. He's just like big numbers every week, can't always find a way to win.
Yeah, I agree.
I respect that. I mean, the smart pick is the Cowboys.
Yeah. I got to catch up. I'm 4 games back right now.
Yeah. It's okay. You might only be 3 after tonight.
Prime time, Thursday night, Turkey night, San Francisco at Seattle.
What are the Seahawks even?
NFC West. Geno Smith is questionable, by the way.
We exposed
which would put in Drew Lock as the quarterback if he's out.
We exposed that team. The only team they
I told you they were frauds.
And I believe you now.
Also, Kenneth Walker is out with a significant ankle, which means Charbonnet, the rookie, is going to be the starting running back.
Wait, is he really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, the 49ers aren't going to lose this game. I guess the question is just how many are they going to win by? I don't even think if they were fully healthy, the Seahawks would have a chance. Yeah, they do tend to play the 49ers pretty tough because they're in the same division. But if it's Drew Lock, man, that's a damn shame. What's the spread?
San Francisco's favored by 7 because it's at Seattle, I think.
I think they'll cover.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think San Francisco wins and covers. I think they match up too well against Seattle. I think their strengths now, especially having Chase Young on their side, it's just impossible. You can't double team either defensive end.
Right. When you got Nick Bosa and Chase Young coming on both sides, they're
so scary, and I hope we don't have to play them in the Super Bowl. I hope that someone knocks them off. But we will. Don't we play them in the regular season?
Yeah, we play at San Francisco Christmas Eve.
I'm not looking forward to that game. I hope.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm very, very worried about that.
I hope both Joey Bosa and Chase Young have sprained ankles for that game, and they can't play.
Yeah, I think that the reason we might win that game is because I don't really believe in Brock Purdy, but at the same time, the 49ers
Christian McCaffrey,
hands down, the best team in the NFC, not named the Eagles, and
Christian McCaffrey is like Tyreek Hill at running back.
I would sell the first 2 Super Bowls that the Ravens won to have Christian McCaffrey for the rest of the year.
What?
I would, because there would be no chance that we wouldn't win the Super Bowl. If we could just remain healthy and have Christian McCaffrey for the rest of the year, I'd give him 2012. No. I'd trade them 2012. I'd be like, okay, you can have it. You all saw the game. You can say you won, but give us Christian.
Okay.
I would never give up the Super Bowl.
But that leads us to Black Friday. We got Miami at the New York Jets. The Jets have announced that they are benching Zach Wilson and starting Tim Boyle at quarterback. And I don't care, like I said earlier, who you put back there. It ain't going to be pretty. Miami's favored 7.5.
So the thing with Miami is they tried everything they could to lose to the Raiders, and they still couldn't lose to the Raiders. I think it'll be similar in the fact that they will try everything they can to lose to the Jets, but I think the Jets would have better luck just saying, let us only play defense the entire game.
Yeah.
Than having the offense that they have. And it's sad because there are some good players on that offense, but
they didn't have one receiver with over 10 yards receiving this week.
They were playing a very angry Bills team, but
I don't think the Jets hold a chance in this one. I think this is a
yeah,
blowout.
I could see that. I could see numbers similar to what we saw with Denver, Miami.
This could be a 55-3 game.
But I'm actually going to say that the Dolphins will find a way to not cover because I am not convinced the Dolphins are that good.
Yeah,
At
so
least
Miami's favored 7.5.
so I don't think they'll cover. I think it'll be one of those games where the defense will step up because they got embarrassed against the Bills. The defense will play pretty well. Obviously, they were going to have that game where they broke, and that was against Buffalo. But let's be honest, the Jets are still in the playoff race. It's not like they're just like 2-8 right now. They're 4-6. They win over the Dolphins, and they're a game out of the lead of their own division. Like they're still
Don't get me
fighting.
wrong. I hope they beat the Dolphins. I
I hope
would
so,
be
too.
so happy if they beat the Dolphins.
Now, I think
And
the Dolphins are still going to win. I just
yes,
think it's going to be a lot closer than you
but
think.
I will say this: with the number of New York Jets prime time games that we've had so far this year, I think I've picked the Jets every single time, and they've lost me every single pick that I've picked them. So, with that being said, I'm going to pick the Dolphins to blow them out, and you watch it. The Jets are going to freaking make my pick wrong, and they will win.
Dolphins are going to win 14-10. It's going to be like something stupid where the Dolphins are going to get in the red zone like 8 times and get stopped on 4th and goal, like 5 of them, 6 of them. I think that the Dolphins are a sloppy team. Tyreek Hill got banged up. He came back out, but I don't know. I think that I don't necessarily. So here's the thing with Miami. I don't necessarily think they're a bad team. I just don't think they're a good team. And it's not that they're not going to be good. I think they'll hit their stride eventually. I'm very worried for when we play them. I think they're just figuring things out, and it's very tough to figure things out against a divisional opponent. No matter who that divisional opponent is. So no disrespect to the Miami Dolphins. You guys are more than likely going to win your division. You guys are more than likely going to beat us in Baltimore like you have the last 2 years. But this matchup, I don't feel confident that it'll be a blowout. It'll be a win, but it won't be a blowout. And Tyler is going to curse his head off if it's like Jets 17, Dolphins 14.
No, I'll be happily wrong on that pick.
Right.
But let's go ahead into an AFC North matchup. We've got Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's first game without Joe Burrow, 100%. Pittsburgh looked trash offensively against the Browns last week. So it's in Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh is actually favored by 1.
Dude, I think that all hope and love and happiness left the city of Cincinnati when Joe Burrow got hurt. I think they could sign Tom Brady right now and they would still just lose every game. They're a deflated team. The Steelers literally tried their hardest to lose yesterday and still found themselves in a position to win the game late and drive the field and score a touchdown or a field goal to win it. They don't have to do anything for the first 52 minutes of a game, and they're always in a position to win somehow. They could literally get 0 yards on the first 8 times that they get the ball and still have a way to win it at the end of the game. And as much as it pisses me off, and as much as for once I'll be rooting for the Bengals, Steelers are going to win 21-3.
Okay, so I think Steelers are going to win. I don't think they're capable of scoring 21 points in a football game, though.
Oh, no, their offense is going to score 0 points. Their defense is going to score every single one of their points.
I don't even think that's possible. So I'm going to say that the score is 10-7 Pittsburgh.
You're ready for another good one, guys.
Maybe 10-9 because of a safety.
Right.
Something like that. And it's a push. So Pittsburgh does not cover. They push.
Who's my fantasy kicker? Damn it. I gotta get a new kicker in fantasy.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Pittsburgh as well. I think like you said, Cincinnati's just got terrible morale right now. They don't really look like they want to play football anymore. They look like they're ready to just throw in the towel and just finish the season out.
If I find myself watching that game, and I will because we don't play till 8:30, 8:20, I'm going to be watching Logan Wilson the entire game. the entire game. I will legitimately only be watching Logan Wilson when the Steelers are on offense. Because when that man ends another person's season, I'm going to start compiling stuff and send it off to the NFL like a crazy person. I'll be looking through old, like, all 22s and stuff because I believe that dude's a dirty player.
Okay, so another AFC North matchup. Cleveland at Denver. Denver is favored by 1.5. Denver's kind of hot right now.
They were 1-5. They're 5-5.
Yeah, pretty insane.
They're playing a team that couldn't score if there was no defense right now. I don't trust DTR. The Broncos defense has been playing very well as of late. Russell Wilson, I'm worried because the Broncos have been doing a lot of the like little screens and things, and that's how they've been getting a lot of yards. I think this has a potential to be another defensive matchup, but I definitely would pick Russell Wilson over DTR to find a way to win the game late. Broncos 17-6.
Okay. I'm going to go on a limb here and say this is the one where the Broncos kind of come back to earth. Cleveland's defense, I think, is just playing at an unreal level right now, and I think they're going to pressure Russell Wilson enough to have him make a bad decision. He likes to kind of throw the ball up sometimes when he gets guys in his face.
Yeah, he does.
And I'm going to go ahead on a limb and say that Cleveland's going to score a defensive touchdown. And I think that they do win this game. Probably, what did you say it was? 17-6 Cleveland or Denver?
I said 17-6 Denver.
I'll say 17-6 Cleveland.
I could see it both ways. This is another one of those toss-up games.
Yes. So that brings us to Monday Night Football.
Which one of those was Sunday night?
We are.
I'm so stupid. I am so stupid. I could just cut that out from the fucking thing, please. Cut that out from the thing. Shut the fuck up. That was so stupid.
All right, so
I literally just said we're playing on Sunday night too, like 2 minutes ago. Holy crap! There's no excuse for that.
Monday Night Football, 1 week from today, Chicago at Minnesota. Minnesota is favored by 3.5 points.
I wasn't very impressed with Minnesota last night. I was very impressed with the Bears yesterday. And I know that doesn't necessarily mean much. Every game is different. But what kind of worried me with the whole Vikings game last night is that they were in a very good position to just kind of like what we normally are. They had a lead, and all they really needed to do was just find a way to finish the game without giving it up. And they couldn't. And the Bears, let's be honest, even with Tyler Badgett, has been a very frisky team.
Fields is back.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm just saying, like, before Fields came back yesterday, like, even with Badgett, they were winning games. They were frisky. And now they have Fields back, and he played pretty well yesterday. I think that the Vikings are the better team, but I think the Bears are going to win.
Okay, so Minnesota is favored by 3.5 being at home. There's one thing I know about Justin Fields. He never plays 2 good games back to back. I've never seen it. Every time that you think he's turning the corner, he plays like shit the next week. It seems like it all the time. So I'm taking Minnesota here. I think it could be a grind out game. These teams do know each other pretty well, being in the same division. I think it could be a low scoring game. I'm going to say final score 23-16 Minnesota.
Okay. I could see that. You know, the Bears defense has been playing way better than they had been at the beginning of the year. They've actually been turning the ball over. I know they had a late kind of collapse yesterday, but they still almost had 5 interceptions. Like, they had 3 and they dropped 2 more. You know, it was just kind of like, ugh. And I don't think the Bears are really playing for much of anything other than to be spoilers. And I know when you're a bad team, you want to lose all those games. But I think when you have a division game, it's a little different. You kind of want to spoil that team, spoil that team's year. So that's kind of probably another reason why I'm going to go Bears. Da Bears.
The Bears. All right. So let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 differences, just enough for me to strike back and get even with you.
Well, that's
depending on how tonight goes.
Right.
Maybe get a game ahead if I really get lucky. But or I can just, suck and go down by a bunch. We'll see. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say I'm excited for this week. This is a big week of football. Thanksgiving week is always just one of my favorites when it comes to watching football. Really excited.
Oh yeah. Thanksgiving, and honestly Christmas weekend. Like this is like the time of year where you get so much good, meaningful football, and you get a lot of really interesting primetime games because they start to flex games in and out. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm just looking forward to hopefully the Chiefs do actually lose tonight, and then we can get that number 1 seed and go into our bye with the number 1 AFC seed. That'd be sweet.
Oh yeah, that would be. I mean, we were at this point a couple years ago. We were 8-3 in the number 1 seed, and then that's kind of when Lamar went down. I'm hoping that now that we're in the same position we were before, this time we can prove, hey, you know what? No, now that we're not hurt, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we can, actually put together a very strong run and make a push, because there is no reason outside of injury that this team will fail. Even if we drop a game or two, like there is a chance that the Steelers manage to win this division. There is a chance that someone else gets the number 1 seed, but I think all of the teams in the playoffs right now we match up with very well, except for Cleveland. We could beat the Jaguars at home or on the road. We could beat the Dolphins at home or on the road. We could beat the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Bills, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Jets, any of those teams that are kind of in the mix on the home and on the road, at home and on the road. So, I feel like we have a really good opportunity to get that 1 seed and shut up any doubters, but we got to do it. We just got to go get it. It's there for our taking. 3-4 years ago, last time it was there for our taking, we let it go. We squandered it. And honestly, we lost to a team that was worse than us. This is the home stretch, baby. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Let's go ahead and get into Mike's top 5 Ravens to finish this podcast out.
Yep. All right. This week was a little weird. Number 5, I'm actually going to have Mark Andrews, because when he was playing in the game, he was tearing that defense open and he was making a difference. And if he had gotten up from that dirty tackle, he probably would have had a 100-yard game the way we were using him. I know it's hard to tell because he went down, but in that opening drive, he was looking pretty close to unstoppable. Number 4, I know he didn't have a touchdown, but he did. Zay Flowers, he just continued to show his breakneck speed, his ability to shift on a dime. He's like Lamar Jackson if Lamar Jackson was a wide receiver. He's a joystick. He is our Tyreek Hill. And we have to find a way to continue to keep him. Number 3, and by the way, I'm not putting Lamar on the top 5 this week because I feel like he's always there, and I just wanted to shine a little bit of light on some of the other players this week. So number 3, I had Rashad Bateman scoring his first touchdown. He would have had another one if it wasn't for that really good defensive play by their corner. He was getting open. When he was catching it, he showed his speed and his IQ. And I think it's just going to continue to pile on. Number 2, Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is just a touchdown machine. Again, he's our tush push. He's our goal line Trojan horse. He will get through anything. They got to change his name from Gus Bus to Gus Tank because he could run through a bus if he had to. Number 1, a little I mean, Ravens fans knew about the week he had, but he was a little undervalued by the media this week, even though he had a great game. I had Brandon Stevens. Brandon Stevens at number 1. He held Jamar Chase to 3 catches for what it was like 30 yards and a garbage time touchdown. This man is proving week after week that he needs to be on this team long term. He has had, like, we're talking about, like, Robinson having a good year. We're talking about Kyle Van Noy having a good year. Wasn't Brandon Stevens undrafted?
No,
No, he wasn't.
he was like a mid-round.
Mid-round, okay. But I mean, last year he was just one of those names, like Jalen Armour-Davis, Pepe Williams. And in the span of a season and a half, he has become a lockdown number 2. And when he needs to step up and be number 1, he fit right in.
I think he's better than Marlon Humphrey right now.
I think so too. Marlon's just a little older and slower. So Marlon's still like a great corner, but like you said, sometimes people can get by him really easily, and then it's kind of just, I mean, it is what it is.
He's just been dealing with injuries, and Brandon Stevens is 100%. And
when you're
he's
banged
just
up,
it was crazy his story that he went from a running back in college at UCLA, transfers to SMU, and becomes a corner, and then gets drafted as a corner.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have a lot of high hopes for him. I think he's exactly what this team needed, because everyone's been talking, oh, we need to draft a corner. Oh, we need to sign a corner. Oh, we need to trade for a corner, which is still true. I think we do. But Brandon Stevens is putting his name in the hat.
I honestly would be very happy if we were able to extend him this offseason.
Yeah, do it while we still can before he becomes one of those names like Justin Matabike, where we have to pay top dollar. That would be some forward thinking and very good for our team.
Yes.
But that's my top 5. Obviously, Lamar was brilliant. I guess the only reason I wouldn't put him there, other than the fact that I said that I want to shine some light on some other guys, he still kind of scares me sometimes when he doesn't throw the ball away, and that's why he got hurt, because he wouldn't throw the ball away. I was screaming at the TV, just throw it away, and he wouldn't, and then he got tackled and got hurt. And then after that, he continued. He was better about it this game, but he still for a while was still trying to do runs and stuff, and he was tripping a lot, and it wasn't that he played poorly. It just seemed like he was risking a little too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So I would have him as 5A. I know people are like, oh, Mark Andrews got hurt on the first drive, so you could have put Lamar in. But nah, man. Andrews was
we could put Lamar in the top 5 every week if we really wanted to.
Right, because without
he's the quarterback.
Right.
So
I will say
that wraps up this podcast, this episode, with the Cincinnati recap and the Chargers preview Thanksgiving edition. Hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving with your families. Hope you guys are able to sit down and enjoy some quality time, watch some football, eat some food,
enjoy a Ravens win,
drink some beer, enjoy some Ravens win on Sunday Night Football. And just most importantly, make sure you guys enjoy the rest of your week.
Can I say one thing? As Ravens fans, we've dealt with bad injuries in the past, Lamar going down and kind of ruining our season. I know it's easy to look at the Browns and the Bengals and be like, now you're dealing with what we did. But remember to have respect. These people are people too, and they've dealt with very serious injuries that have put them out for the rest of the year. And as great as it is to see those teams struggle, just have some humility and remember that we were in this case last year, and we still very well could end up in this case this year. So be humble, enjoy the wins, but don't get cocky.
Yep, you heard it here first. But with that, make sure you guys like and share and subscribe, and we'll see you all after the Chargers game on Monday.
Let's go.